I was thinking about what dude said about the difference between truth and fact, right? I mean that when something is fact, that means that it's like been stated and that it's been verified, and it has some level of authenticity depending on who it's coming from. And then truth is like something that requires logic, something that all people can see. And then a lot of times when I research and a lot of this stuff, that's what I come across. The difference between truth and fact. Because what I see and what a lot of people see and what might make sense to them, to these people that have this certain level of authority and these certain fields of study, they will say that that's not the case. They will even try to gaslight you into thinking that, there's something wrong with you, right? It's like every time I go to the section of art museum dealing with what they call ancient Egypt, right? The people that lived along the Nile River for thousands of years, right? Past the civilization along that, right? They always say that those people are not black people, that they weren't black. And I'm just not understanding how were these people not black based off of what that I'm looking at, right? In that sense, that would be like truth. Like, for example, to me, these look like black people. These look like so-called black Africans, right? It resembles a lot of these people today that you see in that Northeast Africa region, right? You look at the hairstyles and everything, right? It looks like the same thing to me. Even when you go back to the first Pharaoh, Pharaoh Narmer, right? What does this look like to you? You see? Even as far as like one of the more famous dynasty of pharaohs, like Seti the First, Ramses II, Ramses III, having haplogroup E1B1A, as far as like proof or genetic proof that, right, these people look like what we think they look like, because haplogroup E1B1A, for a lot of people who don't know, is mainly a sub-Saharan African, especially a West African paternal haplogroup, right? You look at Seti the First, you look at Ramses, you get this, it's the same thing. You would think this is a black person. Mind you, this is in the continent of Africa. They're telling us, no, these people, right, are the indigenous people of the Nile River. These are the people that created the civilization known as ancient Egypt, even though there was no ancient Egypt in that sense. And they show this stuff. But the problem is, right, Egypt was a civilization that goes back to like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago. And they're showing stuff from when those looking people came in. It's like if I showed you a picture of somebody from the 1690s and I told you, see, white people were indigenous to Boston, Massachusetts region. But that's after the migration of European foreigners. And then when you show these people that look black, they'll be like, oh, those are Nubians from Nubia. I'm like, I'm not showing anything from Nubia. I'm showing stuff from the upper Nile. It's like their minds can't comprehend, like, before that these type of looking people were in that region, it was just simply black people, indigenous, and the Nile fan all the way down to the bottom of it. And it's like they like cooked mentally or something, like they just shut down like an unpaid light bill when you mention that. Like, I'm talking about before this, and they just keep deflecting to the same thing. And then you have these people who are experts who have made it a fact that ancient Egypt, like the people of the Nile River, that these were not black people, that these pharaohs were not black people. And it's been verified in some type of peer-reviewed study. What type of pairs do you have? White supremacists? Then you have, for example, Central America, right? Where you have stuff like this. Now, it's a fact that all the indigenous people in the Americas migrated across the Bering Strait, that go back to the whole Clovis culture thing at Bluefish Caves, that all of these indigenous people in the America, North, Central, South America, migrated from Asia. But this doesn't look right, because either you could say that this look African, or you could even say that it resembles like a Pacific Islander, like a Samoan. But they'll sit here and act like this thing don't even look like a Samoan. Even like this, which they found in Veracruz, Mexico. Mind you, the main places in Mexico where you find a lot of those black looking people is in Guerrero, Veracruz, and even parts of Oaxaca. A lot of this stuff that they found that dates back thousands of years in Veracruz and Guerrero, like, look at this. What does this look like? But it's not it's a fact and it's a false statement to say that black people were here anytime before Columbus in pre-colonial times, whether they were African, Melanesian, Polynesian, whatever the case may be. My mind just can't register this without me being a black supremacist or Afrocentric, as they would say. There's even artifacts that they found over here in Guerrero, for example, right? That they found over here in the Americas with people wearing turbans and things like such, right? Right here it says, right? Viewed only from the physical side, we see bodies represented which are small, medium-sized, tall, fat, thin, muscular, flabby, or daintily limbed, heads which are long, short, or deformed, faces which are round, angular, broad, or narrow, hair which is straight, kinky, shaved, or even blonde. And even in this book, it talks about how a lot of people look down on when you look at this stuff and you're like, this looks like this or this looks like that. If you don't agree with the Siberian land ridge theory, which is now fact, they're gonna cook you. I'm looking at this stuff, like for example, in Bonampak, Mexico, they got murals like this. They expect you to believe that, one, this is not a black person, and this is somebody whose ancestors migrated from Siberia. And this American person, their ancestors migrated from Siberia, and they look like this. Does that look right? These are like, they got like cone heads and dreadlocks, bro. Like, bruh. But if you make that observation, they're gonna call you a black supremacist. And I'm like, so my subjective truth is just off. That I'm saying that this looked like a so-called black person. A lot of stuff from that part of the world in modern day Mexico. And not as in me, because I'm not Mexican, but they have people that look black. They look like some Negro type of stuff over there in those parts of Mexico. And I'm like, are these West African people? Are these people who came over here from the slave trade? Or even are they just mixed with people who came over here from the slave trade, but those regions already had black people that were indigenous to there? Were there black people there when the Europeans showed up? Or were there people who were in that part of the world and then left by the time that the Europeans showed up? And people don't even want to have this conversation because they think it's coming from a messed up place, and it's not. I'm just making an observation. And it's like a lot of this stuff, like I said, is literally the difference between truth and fact. Because I'm like, so you're trying to tell me, seeing all of these artifacts, because there's one thing that we don't have, right? To prove that there were black people that were indigenous to over here. You know what we don't have? DNA evidence. And to be honest with you, there's a part of me that's thinking, even if they had DNA evidence, it still wouldn't go anywhere, bro. People still wouldn't accept this. Because they got DNA evidence of the pharaohs having lineages that connect to, or haplogroups or haplotypes that connect to black Africans, as far as the Egyptian conversation. And people still don't care. They don't care. People don't even care. That's the crazy thing about it. And I'm like, when you have somebody, right, that's in a position, right, and they have the power to say this is like this and this is such and such, isn't it the person's job to accept all and to look into all points of views and possibilities rather than do a biased peer-reviewed study and call something a fact? And then later on, when they get caught, they want to change it up. And when they change it up, they're like, oh, we made a mistake. We learned this. This was recently discovered. This has been known for a long time, bro. The messed up thing is, if and when they find DNA evidence of there being black people over here in the Americas, I'm telling you, a lot of people are not going to care. A lot of people are not going to care, bro. And that's the messed up thing about it. And these are the people that are in these positions of power that have control of archaeology, like geneticists, ancient DNA, all this stuff. That's how you get this.